Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a little dose of reality.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk Rants. I'm Steve Malloy, and we do have a guest here, and I will invite him in just a second. I will do that. But the first thing I need to do is I need to thank everyone for joining the show tonight that's in the chat. Appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like button when you come in. If you're new to the channel, whatever platform you're viewing this show from, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter or X, any of them platforms, come over here, join the chat, join the community with your fellow Dolphins, and just have a great old time, because that's what we're going to do tonight. Also, I want to make mention that our sponsor, Caneswear at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida, they have all your Dolphins gear, all your South Florida sports gear for any of the teams. But especially during this time of the season, make sure you stop in there and you get your Dolphins gear. If you're in the South Florida area, in the Davie area, if you're visiting, just stop in there, say hello, say the Fins Talk Sports Network invited you, and I'm sure they'll appreciate it, and we'll appreciate it too. And also, I'll make mention of this now as well, is the greatest show on surf. They also have another one of our sponsors. They have a lot of shirts and things of that nature, really nice stuff. And if you mention Fins, if you put in the promo code Fins Talk, the promo code Fins Talk, you'll get 15% off all your apparel that you get from the greatest show on surf. So that's it for the housekeeping. Let's get on with the show. Man, oh man. We won, ladies and gentlemen. We actually won. We toughed it out. It was a tough fought battle at the Hard Rock Stadium, and we have one of our Dolphins and the host, one of the hosts of the overtime show on the Fins Talk Sports Network, Greg Meyne, was down there at the game in the stadium, and we're going to talk to him about what he saw, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what can we improve? What can we improve on? But I'm just happy we pulled off this win. It was just a tough win, 20-17. And this is one of the things that I've talked about on this show, is there's like 8 teams. This is one of the 8 teams that I mentioned that is a 50-50 chance of us winning or losing. And I knew this was going to be a tough game. I said the score would be 27-24, 20-17, close enough. Again, I want to welcome Lo-Fi in the chat, Aladino, and everybody else. Thank you for joining. Greg, let me get your take. How did you see the game overall? How did you see the game, and what's your take?
So, no, it was a very, very good win. All right, winning in the NFL is very hard. Okay, it's really hard to win in the NFL, right? And Jacksonville, I thought, played a very good defensive game. Okay, they played very well on the defensive side. They threw some things at Miami's offense that I don't think that McDaniel and Tua were expecting. All right, and it sort of looked like that, but it was gritty. It was hard fought. There was some physicality to the game, especially on the interior defensive line for Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Miami's offensive line played well as well. So it was a good, hard fought game. All right. It was a very good win. That said, it's week 1. There were lots of mistakes. There are lots of things to talk about. There's lots of things to correct going into Buffalo on Thursday night. But for week 1, it's a victory. You get in there, you get out of there. It was low scoring. I was expecting a close, high-scoring game, to be honest with you. But, it's phenomenal. What I love about football, all right, is that there's 120-plus plays during the course of a game, all right? But usually the game turns on 2, 3, maybe 4 plays, all right?
Gotcha.
Those 2, 3, 4 plays are the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah.
And one of the amazing things about this game on Sunday is the two plays that determined the game were back to back. The Javon Holland punch out fumble when Etienne was about ready to score. Miami recovers it. The very next play, the first play back from that, basically it was the 80-yard touchdown pass to Tariq Hill.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was all. And the Javon Holland, when he punched that ball out, man, that was a game changer. That was it. That changed the whole momentum of the game right there.
And if Miami doesn't score on that possession, they might not score enough points to win the game, right? But at that point, in the span of 2 plays, 14 points swing. It was a 14-point swing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Jacksonville was going to score a touchdown. No. Miami, very next play, touchdown, game on. Let's go. And that got the crowd back into it. The crowd, for the first half, the crowd was a little bit anxious. I will put it that way. The second half, especially after that touchdown, that crowd went nuts. And I think it helped propel the defense to basically just have a dominating performance in the second half. Miami's defense played really well in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. I mean, they really did. They really did. So since we're talking about defense, and I know Lo-Fi mentioned the defense here in the comments, and she mentioned, or they mentioned that the Jags were the 22nd rated defense last year, and we got to find more than bubble screens and a few big plays. How did you view Anthony Weaver's defense? What did you see? What did you like? What didn't you like?
So the defensive line, with the linebackers, I thought Phillips and Ogba played well yesterday. Or I keep saying yesterday, Sunday. I thought they played well. Campbell and Sealer are good defensive tackles, really good defensive tackles. I'm a little concerned about the depth. All right. Yeah. It seemed, I don't know this for a fact, but it's just my feeling. And from watching the game live and then again on, on TV here, or the TV broadcast,
right,
that it seemed like Jacksonville made hay when our third and fourth defensive tackles were in the game.
Right.
We weren't getting the pass rush. We weren't getting we weren't closing down the running lanes and things like that. Okay?
So that's the Sean Hand
and things.
Benito Jones.
And yes. When those two guys, when one or two of those guys were in, it seemed like Jacksonville had more success on offense.
Right.
I was disappointed in the linebacker play.
Yeah.
I didn't think Long or Brooks had a very good game. Either in the run game or in the pass game.
Yeah.
Kohu got picked on a little bit.
Yeah, he did get picked on.
He got picked on a little bit. I thought Poyer had an okay game. He just looked slow. I'm sorry. I know he's old and things like that. Yeah. It just looked like that he was a step behind everything, especially in the pass coverage. But overall, for the first game out, against a pretty good offensive line and a good set of skill positions with Jacksonville, they held their own. And you create that one big play, Javon Holland, on that fumble. It was a game-changing play, and you got to give him credit for it. And
you'd like to see that.
Oh, absolutely.
And I hope we see more takeaways like that for the duration of this year. Yeah. Good point by Aladino. He says, "I see Weaver's D can only get better. Only one game, guys." Yeah, we know, Aladino. Absolutely, brother. You're spot on, and you got to understand. I give you all a dose of reality. So I look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. I talk about all of it. I'm objective. I don't like to just be a fanboy on my team. Just the way that I look at it, and by doing that, I feel you can, as the season progresses, as you said, the defense will get better. Well, time will tell, right? We will see if it does get better. But This is the way you get better. I'm sure the coaches. You were a coach, Greg.
Oh,
When
yeah.
you won a game, or even when you lost a game, when you went in that locker room, you probably critiqued your team too. What they could have done better, what they did good,
Oh, yeah.
and what they could keep in the in the on the team. What works best for them.
No, absolutely, and this is the first game. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a learning experience for the coaches as much as it is for the players. Okay, the coaches,
absolutely.
even in preseason games and things like that, you know, you're not making the halftime adjustments. You're not making those types of things in preseason, right? You
Mhm.
know, you have to experience it. You have to know how your players are going to react.
Right,
All right, to
right.
different
Yeah,
situations,
good point.
and
Yeah,
you can't necessarily simulate that in practice. So you have to
no.
see it in the game, and you learn from it. You get better, and you move on, and you hopefully each game is a stair step where you're getting a little bit better, and then you're hopefully playing your best football by the end of the year,
Yeah,
and then that's the stair step. You coaches learn, players learn, and it's a new system, new terminology, different things. But for the most part, they did well in their adjustments yesterday. I think Jacksonville's offense surprised them a little bit early. That's the first drive doesn't count for Jacksonville. Okay, let's just put it out there. All right, the first drive they don't block Calais Campbell. He gets a sack for 20 some
yeah,
odd,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The second play, Calais Campbell basically mauls the guard and tackles the guy, and then it's 3rd and 20 or whatever, right? Okay,
Right,
that don't count. Okay, you don't learn anything from that. Calais
right.
Campbell's a potential future Hall of Famer, and
Yeah.
you don't block him, he's going to sack a quarterback.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's too easy. Too easy.
right.
What
But
concerns me though, Greg, talking about Calais Campbell, as you mentioned, great 2 plays, but after that, you didn't hear much of him.
he was
Or did you see something different?
he was good the rest of the game. He wasn't great the rest of the game.
Right.
He did make a couple plays in the run game and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, those first 2 plays were good. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I guess you really can't top those 2 plays. After that,
correct.
you really can't top them.
But the rest of the game, especially in the run game, he held his own. He held the line of scrimmage where his
Yeah.
backups I felt were getting pushed a little bit. Okay, and
Yeah.
that was opening up some run lanes. Okay,
Right.
um,
Right.
so I think he was definitely our second best defensive tackle. Zach Sealer, I don't even know if he got credited for a tackle. Okay,
He had
um,
3 assists.
yeah, okay, so he had 3 assists,
Yeah, he had
but
3 assists.
he had a dominant game in a way. I mean, he was just all over the field,
Yeah.
and that big sack by Agba
Yeah.
was basically Zach Sealer.
Right.
It was a twist stunt. Zach was coming up the field. Agba looped around him. Zach got basically picked off the blocker for Agba, and Agba got the sack. But Zach was doing those types of things all game long. I thought he had a really good game. Watching it live, I thought he had a good game. Watching it on the next day, yesterday on the film, he had a really good game.
Yeah.
I it's what I expect. I'm a big fan of Zach Sealer, so
Yeah. So am I. So am I. I
he
like
he,
Zach.
he had a really good game.
Yeah.
Um, we talked pre-show. I was disappointed in our linebacker play.
Yeah.
I,
Me too.
I there were a couple runs that Jacksonville got that were pretty good sized runs, big runs,
Yeah. I remember
where
that.
the linebackers just didn't fill their hole. I mean,
Yeah.
they weren't blocked, they weren't anything else. They just, you know, you got to have gap discipline, and they didn't have it. And
There you go.
that
That's the word, I guess. I guess
yeah.
I guess this is going to piggyback on what you just said. So what I've observed, and tell me if I'm right or wrong. Okay, you were at the game. You've had more experience in evaluating this type of stuff in the trenches and defenses and offenses. Do you think that although Long had 11 tackles, he was all over the place? I get that, but a lot of times he over pursues or misses his assignment. It seems like, or his gap, as you said.
Yeah, him and Brooks were not maintaining their gap integrity. Okay,
Okay.
you can see the defense. A one play. I don't know if it was the first half or second half, but Jacksonville was pinned deep. They were within the 5-yard line or something like that, right?
Right.
And they ran a play, and Brooks and Long attacked the same gap, and basically the running back just ran right past them at the gap that one of them was supposed to be in. It's not that they were blocked. It was not anything else.
Right.
It was just one of them went to the wrong place.
Gotcha.
Right. So I don't know which one. That all depends on the defense and the call and stuff like that. But I don't like using linebacker or tackles as a linebacker stat to say that they had a good or a bad game. Linebackers are supposed to make tackles. Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of times the tackles are once the running back is past the line of scrimmage.
It's where those tackles take place that are important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And Jacksonville ran the ball well yesterday.
Yeah, they did. They did.
So, and a lot of that has to do with, in my opinion, the linebackers basically weren't there.
Right.
Maybe Lo-Fi makes a point. Maybe they were being ultra aggressive. Maybe they were over pursuing. Whatever it was, there were plays that they should have made that they didn't, in my opinion. Yeah. And that's one of those things that they got to clean up.
I think they're, and you and I discussed this earlier before the show. I think they were rusty. A lot of these guys were rusty. A lot of these guys, a lot of them missed a lot of the training camp practices, and some of them didn't even play in the preseason. Period.
Right. I mean, I don't care who you are. I don't care how many years you've played. It's the first game of the year, baby. You're pumped. All right.
Yeah.
So you gotta play. You gotta control your emotions. You gotta do your assignment. And again, despite all of this that I'm saying, all these little nitpicky things here and there about what I'd like to see better, they played a good game. They won against a good team. All right.
Absolutely.
And it was a quality win. Winning in the NFL is hard. And anytime you can get one, especially like this, in a gritty, physical football game against a good team, you take it and you run with it all day long.
And I agree. And that's what I want to see, honestly. I'd rather see, rather than the splash plays, and which are fine, every once in a while, I get it. I love to see that too. But what I really like to see for this team, if I'm being realistic, I want to see them win games like this. Right. This can only build character, right? This can only make them better by having to come from behind, having to tough it out, getting physical and down and dirty with the other team. That's what I want to see. I'd rather see them win, going down the stretch, especially as I said, I've got 8 teams that I said was 50-50. It could go either way. Okay. This year is not a cakewalk for the Miami Dolphins. It's not. I'd rather see them go through this, tough it out, through these 8 teams, and win by a couple points, 3 points, 4 points, whatever it is, just barely getting by and winning these games. And then when it comes in December and January, when we've got to play those 5 or 6, like Green Bay and Cleveland and Jets in the Meadowlands, and I know I'm missing some San
Francisco at home.
Play home. And all those teams, we've got to, this can only make us better if we can tough it out these 8 games that I say are 50-50 and just barely get by. Of course, I'd like to see them, big points on the board and all that. That would be great. That would be awesome if they do that. But I think this is really good for the team, especially for, and we'll get to our offense. Because I like to talk a little bit about that. Was there anything else on the defense that you would like to interject?
A couple things more on the defense.
Okay.
I think the DBs, Cater Kohu had a rough game. he also had a rough in coverage and tackling. I thought he didn't tackle very well in the secondary.
That's a shame too, because I think it's a lot of rust. We've got a lot of rust, and he
Yeah,
hasn't. He didn't play a lot in the training either.
yeah, and
In
you
training
don't
camp.
practice tackling much anymore because you don't play in pads anymore
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
preseason. So they got to clean up their tackling.
Yeah.
I thought Javon Holland had a good game and
Mm-hmm.
made a couple great plays. Okay,
Yep. Yep.
all right,
He did. He did.
and Ramsey had a good game. He had a bad penalty, no doubt
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Um, but he also made a couple great plays. Okay,
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
and and Poyer, he was okay. I he just looked slow, and,
Yeah.
and it looked like he was getting picked on a little bit.
Yeah.
In by Jacksonville on some of the deep throws.
Yeah.
But he did okay. But I've had concern at cornerback. Basically since last season. Um, I still have that concern. That third and fourth cornerback is still a thing for me, but they played well. They played pretty good. They played well enough to win. There's just some things in there they got to clean up to.
Yeah.
And Javon Holland, if he can continue making plays, outstanding. Jalen Ramsey's going to be a stud. He's
Yeah.
always been a stud.
Oh yeah.
So if I can get 2 out of the 4 being very good, I'll take it. But man, let's make some tackles back there.
Yeah.
there was some scary things going on, especially in the run game.
Yeah,
But
for sure. And you're right about the missed tackles. I know PFF, if you look at the PFF grades and then you
mhm,
get really deep into the data of PFF, not just the ranking score, but
yeah,
everything else across the board, when you look in deeper, they missed a lot of tackles. They did.
I
That shows too. They missed a
it shows
lot of tackles.
and
Yeah,
you saw it live, and you definitely saw it in
right.
the
Yeah.
guys were in position to make the play and
Hmm.
did. That
Yeah.
that's and hopefully, look, we're in the season now. You're going to have practice. You're a week away. Um, I miss AVG
I
a
do
little
too.
bit,
I was upset
but
when they let him go.
but
They let him
no,
walk.
they defensively they played well. I'll just say well. I think they can get better. I think they can get a lot better. Um, uh, I there were times when the pass rush wasn't getting through at all. I'd like to see a little bit more consistency there.
Yeah.
But overall, holding a team, shutting out a team in the second half, that's a thing. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
they did a few extra things there and made a few little adjustments here and there, and basically shut them off and got the play of the game, the great play by Javon Holland on that punch out, and basically, that like we were talking about before. There's 120 plus plays in a football game, and usually 2, 3, 4 of them determine the outcome. And 2 plays back to back for the Miami Dolphins completely changed a loss to a win. So that's the way it goes,
Yeah.
and it's awesome to watch.
Yep. Yep. And the thing is too, we're still talking about the defense. So what I like to mention is I had a lot of questions about the defense at the start of the season. Had a lot of questions concerning the older players like Calais Campbell, even Jalen Ramsey, um, and Poyer, right? Can these guys hold up for 17 game season? That was my question. Um, so that is my hope. I hope these guys can hold up because they are older. I hope they don't sustain, especially Poyer. I think he's still battling that thumb injury. So, and he got his thumb caught in that helmet. Did you see that?
Oh no, yeah, no,
I was like,
yeah,
oh my God, no, don't hurt it again.
yeah. He about ripped that guy's head off, and
Yeah.
that happened in my end of the field, and it happened, and I was like, oh, and there was like I swear to God, every ref threw their flag on it, even from the ones on the other side of the field, because
Right.
it was that obvious.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. But he got
no,
his thumb stuck in the helmet, so I'm sure that had something to do with it.
well,
Maybe. I don't know. But it was ugly. You're right
it
about
was
that.
ugly. It was
It
ugly.
was
It
about that.
happened kind of right in front of us. It was like, ooh, that
Yeah.
one's bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um, what's your take though on these guys like Calais and Jalen and
no,
Ramsey and Poyer? Do
they
you have that same feeling or
I do. I have that same feeling. Miami's has the oldest roster in the league.
right?
And they have four players on defense. You know, Poyer, um, Fuller. I throw him in there because
Oh,
he's
right,
30 years
Fuller.
old.
Yep, Fuller.
Campbell and Ramsey, who are playing key positions,
Yeah.
and things like that. And we need them healthy,
Yeah.
because I'm not convinced, especially in the defensive backfield, I'm not convinced our corners, um, behind them are very good. So
Yeah.
we need those guys to stay healthy. Um, I'm concerned at wide receiver too. Keeping those guys healthy.
Yeah, for
They do a
sure.
lot of running.
Yep.
We saw it through camp that you know Beckham is on the pup lifts. Waddle and Hill didn't practice the majority of preseason.
Exactly.
Nursing leg injuries and hand
Yep.
issues and things
Yep.
like that. So
Yep.
I am concerned about age, and this, I think the season can get derailed really quickly if there's a handful of injuries to certain guys at key positions.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you're right
so,
on the depth
so
there.
keeping everybody healthy is going to be very important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And so talking about the offense, let's start off with the wide receivers. Um, other than Tyreek and Waddle, we know those guys, right?
Yeah.
Barrios did not perform well, in my opinion.
No, no, Barrios.
Horrible. Blocking great. But Barrios, yeah, he missed a couple of balls there, didn't he? I think a couple of them.
Well, there was, so he got credited with one drop, that I would not call a drop, but yeah, the Miami wide receiver position, that third wide receiver is going to be critical throughout the year. I think one of the reasons why Miami stalled on offense is, a lot on Sunday, is that I just don't believe that they had any viable option other than there was nobody threatening the secondary other than Waddle and Hill. And basically, I thought Jacksonville game planned for those two really well. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed that third threat. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Achan caught 7 balls, right?
Yeah, he did.
And he had 70 yards and stuff like that. But most of those catches are around the line of scrimmage. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not immediately threatening the secondary. It's not moving people, getting them deep or something like that, allowing, the other players to run underneath or
And
anything.
talking of Achan, he's hurt. He may
Oh
not.
yeah.
Yeah,
So's
he
Mostert.
hasn't participated in practice. Well, they just did walkthroughs today, but Mike McDaniel mentioned that even if there was practice today, he wouldn't have practiced. So he's
Right.
hurt with an ankle, and Waddle sustained a chest injury. He's on the
So so so
injury
we were
list.
talking about Barrios having, one of the drops that I don't think was a drop. Okay. Waddle hurt his chest, okay, on a play, basically on a completion, but Tua didn't read the defense correctly, and it's one of those things where it was early in the game, and I give Jacksonville credit for doing this. They were running what I call, well, if we take a step back, if you look at what the numbers are saying, Jacksonville basically played 70+% man, some
Mhm.
variation of man. Okay,
Mhm.
they it was like 50% of man cover two man, and then like a 20+% of single high safety man. Right.
So is that like a man press type
Yeah,
coverage?
it's basically man across the board with two deep safeties.
Right.
Okay, and then you have man across the board with a single deep safety, and and what I was calling and what I used to call a robber. Okay, and the robber, so so the offense can only send out five guys. All right, there's five eligible players. All right,
Right.
most
Right.
defenses rush four, and that means you have seven in the secondary. So if you're playing man, you have five guys playing man, and you have two people who could do whatever they want. Okay, a lot of time in two deep, you play two deep zone. It looks like a cover two, and whatever you want. But a lot of the times, what they were doing is they were mixing up who that zone player was. So that zone player could have been a middle linebacker at certain points.
Gotcha.
It could have been somebody else. So Barrios' drop on the fourth down play, basically the robber interfered with the play. All right. The catch that Waddle got hurt on, all right, basically got hit by a robber. The cornerback funneled him inside into the safety, and then the robber was coming from the inside as well.
Oh wow!
Okay.
So it's kind of almost like some type of disguise, right?
It's a disguised coverage, and what there was something, and they ran that robber type situation quite a bit, and I even think that some of the cover two man that people thought they were playing wasn't really cover two man. That one of the safeties was the robber. Because usually in cover two, the deep safeties at the snap of the ball back up. Okay. Only one was backing up. The other one was coming down into the middle of the field to see where that space was, to try to disrupt the passing operation.
Gotcha. And they did a good job of it because you didn't see too many passes down the middle at all.
No. And all the passes down the middle, there was heavy traffic.
That's when Waddle got hit.
And that's when Waddle got hit. That's when Barrios got hit.
Yeah.
In the second half, Hill got hit. On the same play. Almost dropped it. He had to double catch it.
I remember,
So there were those types of plays over the middle of the field all game long. And one of the reasons why Achane, Mostert, and the tight ends got so many targets on Sunday was because when Tua started singing that, he was checking down.
Right.
He was seeing all of the space in the middle. They were calling all of those route combinations in the middle. He was seeing that it was covered, that the robber was coming there, and basically he was checking down to the backs. I hadn't looked at it yet, but it was I can't remember a game last year where there were 17, 18 targets to running backs and tight ends. That's what there was yesterday or on Sunday.
On Sunday,
So
Can you answer that question?
What?
That question right there?
Yes. Yeah. No. That's basically on the touchdown catch. Okay. So if we take a step back, when you're doing the robber and when you're doing the single high safety or even the two safeties deep, okay, the open space in the field is the deep thirds.
Thank you for that question, Lo-Fi. Thank you.
Yes. The open spots on the field are those deep thirds, okay? Safety level outside, toward the sidelines, between the hash and the sideline. Think of it that way, right? Or in the NFL, that's college. In the NFL, it's between the numbers and the sideline because of the way that the field's set up, right? So if you think about it, like on the first series or the second series of the game, Tua missed Hill in that area that would have been a touchdown, on a deep play, right?
Right.
Okay.
I remember the overthrow.
The overthrow. Okay. Right. That was in that area of the field. Okay.
That's rare for him to overthrow.
Correct. All right. But we can, if you wanted to talk about that play, I could tell you why it was overthrown, but
we'll get back to that when we get to Tua.
Yeah. When we get back, but when you look at it, those were the areas of the field that they wanted to get to. They tried running some wheel routes and things like that weren't successful. But Waddle's catch, was basically he started from the left-hand side of the field and ran a deep crossing route, an angle route, flag route, whatever you want to call it, to that area on the right-hand side of the field.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was wide open. Hill did the exact same play, except he just ran it from the right to the left. Okay, Waddle had another catch of 20 plus yards in that same area of the field. Okay,
Yeah.
so there was, Tua threw for about 300 yards. About 200 of it came on 4 or 5 completions to those areas of the field.
Right. You
And
had
when
the 80-yarder, the 63-yarder, and then, like you said, the 20-yarder. Or right
you
there, that's what that's almost 200 yards. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So, and one of my complaints on the offense was I thought it was pretty obvious early on that's where they should have been attacking, and they didn't attack it enough, in my opinion. But hopefully they learned, and saw things. I was very impressed with Jacksonville's coverage schemes and defense in this game. I thought they really gave Miami a look that they hadn't. I don't know if they anticipated or not. So there was one of the things that I was happy about on offense was they adjusted. They made plays in the second half.
Big time.
They recognized it, but they maybe a little late, but they recognized it, and then they were able to capitalize on it.
Yeah. That for sure. That I like to see that. That's something that McDaniel didn't do much last year. The adjustments in the second half, and this year he did. They made those adjustments. So let's talk a little bit about, now we got the wide receivers covered and it's kind of disappointing that Malik Washington is hurt, and we don't know when he's going to come back. Well, he's got another 3 weeks on the PUP list. So I'm sure that would have helped and OBJ, those are two that critical players that we should have had on that field, right? But they're hurt. So what are you going to do? Let's talk about the tight end, because I know I think it was Lo-Fi mentioned the tight ends. They didn't. Yes, so the tight ends were terrible, especially Jonnu. Yeah, Jonnu was one of my disappointments yesterday. Big time disappointment for me. As far as, because all I heard was in camp and folks talking about, we got all these packages and he's going to be this and he's going to be great. I grant you, it's only one game. I got you, but why do you think he was so disappointing in that game? I don't get it. Terrible blocking too.
Well, my big thing with the tight ends on this type of offense is they have to be able to block. And I don't care if it was Smith, Jonnu Smith, Durham Smythe, or Hill. Their blocking was horrendous.
Yeah, it was. Sunday. It was terrible.
There was. I would throw Ingold in there as well. I don't. think
Ingold had a terrible day blocking.
Good blocking day.
Yeah.
And it showed up in our run numbers, I think, because I actually felt that the O-line blocked well for the most part on Sunday, but all of those outside runs where you needed your wide receivers, your fullback, and your tight ends to block, they just weren't getting it done. That's if there was one big disappointment on the offense, it was the outside run blocking on the team. I just felt it was one of the worst run blocking games for the tight ends and the wide receivers that I'd seen in a long time.
And you can throw Ingold in there too.
Yeah, no, I do not think Ingold had a very good game. That's probably an aberration, but I think he'll be better. But yeah, they didn't catch the ball. They didn't run really good routes. So, when I was saying earlier about the wide receivers, that the defense was basically in the middle of the field and Tua had to check down, right? When Tua's in a shotgun, the running back's offset to one side or the other. Right. That running back's going to flare to that side, and that's going to be his check down, right? Well, if Tua reads and it's the other side of the field, that typically means that the tight end route is the check down, right? So that's why the tight ends were seeing a lot of pass attempts, a lot of targets as well, and they didn't capitalize on any of them. I mean, it was bad. There were a couple plays, like 2 or 3 in a row where you had either drops or hitting TNs and, just not getting open. And I was like,
it was just
we got to get better there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So we did talk about a little bit about the O line. Of course, Aaron Armstead. He's a Aaron Armstead, right? Taron Armstead. I said Aaron.
Yeah.
Taron Armstead. He had a great day blocking on both run and pass. Aaron Brewer was solid. He was better. All of our O line was good in the pass pro. They were good at pass blocking.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to the run, you had like two or three of them that were okay, and then you had the other two like Liam. Now he had a couple good blocks. He was good in the pass pro, but a lot of the time he was getting bullied out there blocking. Although he made that good block for was it Achan that went into the end zone?
Eichenberg had an up and down game. I will say that
better than I projected he was.
You know what? He played good enough to live with. I'll say it that way.
Serviceable.
Right?
Serviceable.
He was serviceable. He wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't glaringly bad. How's that? All right.
Yeah.
What I saw on the O line, especially on the run blocking, was just it was almost a lack of familiarity with each other.
Good point.
It's a first game. A lot of these guys hadn't played together. Brewer hadn't practiced
there you go.
in a while.
There you go. Aaron Brewer was hurt. He was hurt with his hand.
Right. Armstead hadn't practiced a lot.
He didn't play at all.
Right.
He hadn't practiced at all.
Eichenberg was the backup center, so he played center most of the time and not guard. I mean,
exactly.
So it just looked like their timing with each other and their communication was off.
Yeah.
The Tua overthrow on the pass pro. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ingold got beat on a block when he was picking up a guy rushing off the edge.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was a miscommunication. I don't know if that was Ingold's guy. I think Armstead might have blocked down when he should have come out, because Armstead went down, and then if you look at it, he basically turned around and looked back to his left, and he's like, it was an old crap moment. It's like, and I think Ingold tried to pick him up, and it didn't work. Got pressure on Tua, and if Tua could have held the ball another half second or so, he probably completes that pass. But again, that's week one. That's getting familiar. That's understanding what's going on. That's not practicing a lot.
Yeah, and you can see it.
Like that, but for the most part, I thought the O-line played well. I thought they played well. Tua got sacked 3 times. That's not good. You don't want him to get sacked that many times, but
he also got hit a couple of times.
But Jacksonville's D line's good.
Oh yeah, man. They had the three down linemen are great.
The Jacksonville's no slouch up front, man, and they're gonna give a whole lot of teams trouble this year with those guys. So
I agree.
I mean, Miami's O-line held their own. I thought.
They did.
I was happy with it.
Yeah, I know a lot of folks are saying, "Oh, they got a trash O-line and all that," but hey, they're playing against a really good D-line, and look how they did. I mean, they held their own, like you said. Yeah. Now, maybe the run blocking could have been a little better, but I don't think it was totally on the O-line, because some of your protections got to do their part too, right? Ingold, the tight ends, the wide receivers, and they weren't doing it. They weren't stepping up. Let's talk a little bit about the running backs. Although I just stated they didn't have such a good game running. How do you view the running backs? What did you think about Achan's new role, and what do you think of Mostert and Wilson?
So let me say this. I've been saying Miami needs to improve running back since the end of last season. Okay.
Yeah.
And why I say that is because I believe Achan and Mostert are basically outside runners, and they're not inside runners at all. Okay.
Right.
To be an inside runner, basically you got to see a gap and you got to explode through it. They're always looking to bounce, and they're always looking to create big plays. Okay.
Great point. Can I interject something real quick, since we're talking about the running backs? I know you're high on Jalen Wright, and so am I.
Yep.
and I thought Jalen Wright could possibly fill that role. But to me, he's got that speed too. Not quite as fast as Achane or Mostert, but he's pretty doggone quick, pretty fast. I seen him do the same thing in preseason. He is a little reluctant to hit that hole, that gap up the middle. You know,
Well,
he wants to bounce and go out to the outside as well. He has those tendencies, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe you see it differently.
no. I saw it as well. I'm hoping we're wrong. All right. I'm hoping once we get in there, we're wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, Achane's role on Sunday is what I saw him doing. Okay. Is basically he's gonna be 50-50 pass receptions and rush attempts.
Yeah.
Okay. He's a guy who's gonna rush for maybe get 100, let's just call it 110 rush attempts, but he's probably going to get 70, 80 receptions too. Okay.
You think that much this year?
I think what we saw, he got 7 receptions. I think he's a 4 to 5 reception guy every game, at least. Right. Okay.
I could see that. Yeah.
All right. Mostert, I really hope he takes a secondary role on this. I want Achane and Wright to be the 2 main guys. The reason why Wilson's on the team, okay, is for everything Wilson's not. What he is he knows he's not a speed guy. He knows he's not going to bounce it. He knows he's not going to outrun people, but he can run inside. He can get the ball. He can plant the foot. He can explode through the line of scrimmage, and he falls forward. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I felt I actually felt that he probably should have played earlier in the game, because it was the way the defense was flowing inside out on the outside runs, and the wide receivers not being able to block the cornerbacks at all, and the cornerbacks making tackles on the outside runs by the line of scrimmage. They had to have something inside, and that was to me, that was Wilson's role. And when he came in at the end of the game, I actually leaned over to the guy behind me, who I was talking to in the stands the whole time. I was like, Miami's going to be able to run the ball inside now. And sure enough, we got a couple first downs, and it felt pretty good. I'm hoping that's Jalen Wright instead of Wilson, because
Wright, me too.
If Wright can do that inside, he still has the speed to, once he gets in the secondary, he could make somebody miss and maybe take it to the house.
Yeah, for sure. I think they could have brought Wilson into the game earlier, and they didn't. And they brought him in because Mostert was hurt. He's hurt as well. Mostert's hurt. Achane's hurt. So we have a serious problem with our running back room, and I'm hoping that Achane was hurt last year. He missed 4 or 5 games last year. Mostert missed, I think, 1 game or so, and he was banged up. Hopefully that's not going to happen this year. But let me say hello to everybody in the chat.
Yep.
Rafi, appreciate you, brother. Rafi boy, appreciate you for joining tonight. It's good to see you. I haven't heard from you. I've seen you in a long time, brother. So I appreciate you. And you're making a good point in the chat there as well. I says, what's happening, gents? Good to see you, Steve. I say run Jalen Wright down the Bills' throat, play Weaver's defense, and let Tua Reek Waddle loose and keep feeding Wright the ball. Keep the Bills off offense. Absolutely. Those are probably great keys to the game for Thursday night. And I'm going to have a pregame show tomorrow night. Tomorrow night I'll have a pregame show about the same time as we started this show tonight, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. So everybody, please join that show. Tomorrow night, I'll have the pregame show. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel and you're watching from other platforms, or you're new to the channel in YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and share with your friends, your families, and your neighbors. And another thing I keep forgetting to mention is we do have super chat. So if you are inclined to give a super chat, I don't know what the minimum amount is. Whatever it is, it would help the channel, immensely. We are growing here at the Fins Talk Network. Greg is part of that. He's part of the family here at the Fins Talk Sports Network on the Overtime Show. So that would be greatly appreciated if you do. But if you hit that like button, that really, really helps, and it's free, and it sends out notifications to all of our subscribers and non-subscribers. Gets a notification if they're looking for Dolphins content. So I appreciate you on hitting that like button, guys. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
No. You're absolutely right. And Ralphie and Lo-Fi again. I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. So, but yeah, it's Miami needs an inside run game threat, and Achan's not suited to be that person. Mostert doesn't want to be that person. So I hope we can get better than Jeff Wilson.
Yeah.
But if it is Wilson, it's got to be Wilson. So that's why I'm high on Wright. So let's see. Let's hopefully that makes that he makes the difference when he gets healthy. So.
Let me ask you this question: Did you to me, it looked like Mostert was not running at full speed in the game. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he looked like something was up with him. Let's put it that way.
He looked hesitant. He didn't look, because I know Mostert has some good vision, and he can find those holes, and it just didn't seem like he was in it for some reason. He just was running in slow motion, and I don't know. That's just the way I saw it.
He wasn't very decisive, and you could
there
definitely you could definitely tell it on the outside runs. Okay, there were a couple times that he had the ball, and it's like, if you just attack, all right, if you just attack that area, you're going to gain more yards. And basically, he was just hesitant. I don't know what was going on.
Raphael mentioned that he has ankle issue.
Yeah, I thought he got that in the game, though. I didn't think it was
prior
to the game. So I don't know. Maybe that had something to do with it. But he did not look like himself, and he definitely didn't want to go inside. So there is that. But the running backs, because of all the targets outside, especially in the passing game, they were okay. If you just base them on the running stats and stuff like that, they weren't very good. But because they were heavily involved in the passing game, Achan made some nice plays in the passing game.
He did, and maybe that's the case, like you said, they were involved in the passing game, and they weren't focused on the running game, like you said, as a whole, as a team, and that was their game plan. Do you think that was their game plan going in, the way that they played the game, the quick check downs and bubble screens and things like that, or do you think they did that on the fly?
No, I think that's part of the offense this year. I think that's going to be what Tua is. This offense is set up to be a first read offense. You want to complete that first read, all right? And it's up to Tua to scan the side of the field that he believes that he's going to get that first read and make it productive. Okay. Jacksonville did a pretty good job of taking that away. And what I saw in the preseason, going to practices and things like that, is that once Tua got off that first read, the second read was, for lack of a better term, a check down. It was a swing pass to a running back. It was something to the tight end and things like that. I was at one practice, the joint practice with Atlanta, and I texted Brent, and I was like, in fantasy football, if you want a Miami Dolphin running back, they're going to get a lot of receptions this year.
Right.
That's what we were seeing. All right. So I think it's part of the offense. Now, was Tua going to it too quickly? And maybe. Okay. But again, it's the first game of the year. Let's see how it evolves and things like that. But I do think I said this. I said this before the season on one of our shows. I was like, don't be surprised if Achan has more targets than Waddle this year. Not more
Wow.
yards, not more catches potentially, but more targets.
That's over 100 targets.
I think he probably could get 100 targets this year,
Wow.
because I just think that's the way they're going to use him. He lined
Mhm.
up in the slot a lot yesterday. He did
Yeah.
other things yesterday,
And you saw that in training camp as
and you
well.
saw it in training
And
camp as
he even
well.
mentioned that he was working with the receivers. So,
Right, right. So
yeah.
I just think that's a real possibility with this team. Waddle's going to have more touchdown receptions. Waddle's going to have more yards. Waddle might have more catches, but um, there's going to be a lot of targets going to running backs this year. A lot of targets,
Yeah.
and I think we saw the beginning of that Sunday.
Right, right. Well, Lo-Fi makes a good point. Achan can't hold up to that type of snap count most likely. Um, if in my opinion, if he's going to play receiver in space, I think he'll be okay. It's when he's trying to run inside and getting a lot of carries, uh, that's where we're going to run into problems. But I think if you try to hit him with a pass out in space, he'll be fine.
I I think Achan best used this year is going to be he's going to catch 5 to 6 passes a game, and he's going to run the ball 5 or 6 times.
Right.
He's going to be a 50-50 back.
Right.
You're going to rely on Mostert and hopefully Wright to do the majority of the carries. They
Yeah, I
won't
want
get
to
as
see Wright. I want to
yeah.
see Wright.
I want to see Wright as
I'm
well.
so curious to see Wright. So you just pooped on my party, Greg,
Oh,
because I was gonna say, not my party, my parade. I was gonna say I thought Tua was going through progressions and he was getting to that next level. Now you're saying that may not be the case.
yeah. So first off, let me say this. I thought Tua played well
He did. He
Sunday.
played a good game. Played a
All
real
right.
good game.
He did not put the ball in harm's way. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Um, so I don't think I don't think there was one pass that he threw that was a potential interception or dropped interception or anything like that. He
Right.
protected the ball well.
He
All
did.
right.
He did.
Now, saying that, okay, one of the reasons why he protected the ball well is because he got the check down really quick. Okay.
1
He-
point something seconds.
yeah,
He was start getting that ball out of there.
he was throwing the ball to a lot of short passes to running backs and tight ends. All right.
Mhm.
And it looked like a 1-2. It looked
Yeah.
like he was his primary read. He was reading it. He didn't like it. Check down. I mean, and it was that quick, right?
Yeah.
So that
Let me answer this. He said Tua was average. I would say he was probably average maybe in the first half of the game. Second half he was good. That's just my opinion. I thought he played
well,
really good in the second half.
and we talked about this a little bit with the wide receivers, right? There were an area of the field that Jacksonville was leaving open. It was the outside thirds between the numbers and the sideline deep, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while for McDaniel and Tua and to figure that out a little bit too long, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But all of the big passes, all of the yards, 200, I would say 200 yards of Tua's 300 plus yards came on 4 or 5 completions to
Yeah.
those areas of the field.
Yeah,
right?
yards after the catch. Yeah.
Well, it's yards after the catch and things like that. But that,
Yeah.
when you're on your own 20 and you complete a pass, 30-yard pass to Hill and he runs it the rest of the way, yeah, you're going to get foot yards, right? But it was still a great read. It was still a great throw. The one to Waddle, the 60-plus yarder, great read, great throw.
And it was on the run.
Yeah, no,
He caught that on the run, on the fly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So
I don't know how he got caught, but he did. I guess the cornerback had or the defensive back had the angle.
So I'll say it this way, okay? you saw the difference between Hill and Waddle on those two plays. The one
Oh,
Hill caught
absolutely.
and the one Waddle caught, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
Hill's got another gear. I'm not sure Waddle's got that other gear.
True.
Okay,
True. Yeah. True.
when Hill turned that corner, it's like, yeah, he's gone. When
He's the
Waddle turned
cheetah.
that,
He's the cheetah.
oh yeah, when Waddle turned the corner, you're like, yeah, he might get caught. All right,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
but
Yeah. I agree. If that was cheetah, he would have been gone. Long gone.
If Hill caught both of those passes, I'm convinced there would have been 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
If Waddle catches both of those passes, I don't think he scores on either one. But I digress. Um, but no, but the point is McDaniel and Tua were late in figuring out those were the areas where the ball needed to go, in my opinion, and that kind of hampered the offense a little bit.
Mhm.
But once they got it, they figured it out, and they attacked it. Yeah, they had success. I mean, and really, there was no danger in throwing those passes. The areas were open, the guys were open by yards, and that's what you do. You throw it into the area that's open. You let your guy run under it and get it, and then outrun the secondary. That's modern NFL offense right now.
For sure.
And one of my big complaints about Tua over the past couple of years is he makes 3 or 4 throws a game that the defense has a chance to intercept.
Yeah.
Well,
And
he didn't do that on Sunday.
Yeah, he didn't do that. He didn't do that
on Sunday.
He really
So
did. If
there-
anything at all, if my theory of him going through his progression, if that's maybe not the case, at least I can say this: he's improved on that, at least for this one game.
No, I say the offense is a one read offense, a first read
Right.
offense.
Right.
All quick passing games are. You can't get the ball out in 2.5 seconds, on your
Exactly.
third read. Okay.
Exactly.
So every team is basically a quick read, a first read offense.
Yeah.
It's what that second read is the question. Okay. And it looks like McDaniel and Tua and the offensive staff over the offseason said, okay, if one's gone, we're checking down. Okay. So what's the second alternative? Is there going to be an evolution to that? Because, I give Jacksonville a lot of credit for what they did, but I also think Miami's offense left a lot on the field. He did. There were opportunities to score more points. Yeah. And again, first game of the year, let's see what it evolves to.
Exactly.
Very, very good win. I'm
happy. So, I'm happy about it, man.
No, absolutely. And a very good win against a good team. Let's not forget that.
Well, that's what we've been wanting, right? That's what we've been wanting, Miami to beat a good team, and they did.
And Jacksonville, if they stay healthy and everything, they're going to be right in that playoff contention along with Miami.
I agree.
So this is one of those games that you had to win.
Absolutely. And with that note, I want to thank you, Greg, for coming on tonight. Always like having you on. You always have some good football knowledge and I learned something every time. So I appreciate it. And I hope all of you in the chat learned a little something as well. And we're definitely going to have you on during the season if you're available.
Absolutely.
I always appreciate you coming on. And I want to thank everybody else that's in the chat. Appreciate you guys with the comments and the questions. Couldn't do this without you. Really appreciate you guys. And so on that note, I am going to, and remember, make sure you all check the show tomorrow night. It'll probably be 7:30 Eastern time, same as tonight. And we're going to have the pregame show because the Miami Dolphins are playing their enemy, the Buffalo Bills, the people they haven't been able to be, the team they haven't been able to beat in a long, long time. I think Buffalo's 11-2 against us.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
So
I'll be there. So I'm looking
there you
forward
go.
to it.
There you go. So we'll probably talk to you after that game as well, man. So appreciate it.
We'll line it up. Not a problem.
So I'm going to go ahead and incorporate what I kind of haven't been doing for a while, and that is Dolphins #1, baby. So Dolphins #1, baby.